Hi, I'm Mr. Kangas, and today we're going to be taking a look at Chapter 1, Section 2, the Order of Operations. And in this video, we're going to be doing some actual examples of problems that utilize the order of operations. And we're also going to show you a great way to show your work and organize your work as you solve these problems. So as we discussed before, the order of operations has an acronym known as PEMDAS, or some people like to remember it with "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." But what the letters actually stand for are parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and addition and subtraction. And the reason why multiplication and division is boxed off is because one does not come before the other. You go from left to right, doing whichever one shows up first. So multiplication and division are one step in themselves, and you go from left to right, doing whatever comes first. Same reason for addition and subtraction to be boxed off as well. Again, one does not come before the other. You just go from left to right, doing whichever one shows up first. So, for example, if we had 7 minus 5 plus 4, we wouldn't do 5 plus 4 first. Addition does not come before subtraction. You just go from left to right, doing whatever comes first. So in this problem, we would actually do 7 minus 5 first. 7 minus 5 would get us an answer of 2, and we would be left with 2 plus 4. And then to finish off the addition and subtraction, we do 2 plus 4, which would get us an answer of 6. And so if you just take a moment to look at the way I showed and organized my work, I wrote the problem out, the original problem, and then I boxed off what it was I was going to do first. And right underneath that box is my answer. Everything outside that box dropped right down after I wrote my answer down. Then I boxed off what I was doing again, wrote the answer underneath the box, and if I had anything to drop down, if there's anything outside this box, it would have dropped down again in the exact same place where it was. And the reason for doing that is because it makes it very quick to check your work, and for someone else, especially a teacher, to look at your work, see if you got the process correct, and if you did your math correct. And if you made a mistake, it makes it really easy for someone to find the mistake. A lot of times even the person who did the problem can find their mistake really easily, because it's very obvious that my first step was 7 minus 5. I can see it's plainly marked in the box, and I know the answer I got for 7 minus 5 was 2, and I can see the plus 4 dropped right down next to 2 like it was supposed to. My second step was obviously 2 plus 4, and I got an answer of 6. So it makes it very easy to see what I did, when I did it, and what I got when I did it. So what did I get for my answer? So that's one of the more simplistic problems when it comes to the order of operations. To do something a little bit harder, we're going to throw some multiplication and division in there, as well as some adding and subtracting. So let's say we had something that looked like this. 5 plus 8 divided by 4 times 3 minus 6. So this problem's a little bit longer, not necessarily complicated, but it's a little bit longer. So it has a few more steps than the last one did. So again, I'm going to, sometimes it helps to actually write out the acronym for the order of operations as you're as you're doing some of these bigger problems. Is that way you just kind of like have a checklist. So you say, okay, are there any parentheses? You look at your problem. Nope, no parentheses. So I can move on to exponents. Are there any exponents? Nope. Alright, so multiplication and division. Is there any multiplication and division? Yes, there is. I see division and multiplication in this case. So I'm going to go from left to right, doing whatever multiplication and division shows up first, and that happens to be 8 divided by 4. Notice how I'm not doing the addition, and I'm not doing this multiplication over here first, because multiplication and division come before addition and subtraction, and division in this case showed up before multiplication, going from left to right. And so I do 8 divided by 4. I write my answer underneath the box. So it's very obvious the first thing I did was 8 divided by 4. I got an answer of 2. Everything else drops down around that. Everything outside that box drops right down, right where it was. So again, the next part of our problem looks like this. We have 5 plus 2 times 3 minus 6. So we were on the multiplication and division step before. We're going to check our problem. Is there any more multiplication division? There is. There's some multiplication here. We have 2 times 3. And 2 times 3 is 6. We're going to drop down the plus, the 5. We're going to drop down the minus, and the 6. So there's no more multiplication and division, so I'm going to move on to the last step in the order of operations, which is addition and subtraction. So I see addition and subtraction, so I'm going to go from left to right, doing whatever comes first. In this case, it happens to be the addition. I get an answer of 11 for 5 plus 6. I drop down the minus 6. And 11 minus 6 is 5. So I finished the problem with an answer of 5. And if you take a look at the problem, you can actually go through and it's very easy. Here's step 1. You can see I did 8 divided by 4. You can see step 2 was 2 times 3. Step 3 was 5 plus 6. And step 4 was 11 minus 6. Something else you're going to notice is that when I did 8 divided by 4, you can see what my answer was. It was 2. When I do 2 times 3, you can see my answer. It's 6. When I do 5 plus 6, my answer, it's 11. It's very clear cut. It's very clear cut. You see what I did, you see when I did it, and you see the answer I got for it. So when it comes to checking your work, when it comes to reading your work, when it comes to correcting your work, this is going to be the most beneficial. You're going to catch more of your own mistakes showing your work this way, and me as your teacher, or whoever you have as your teacher, is going to be able to figure out what you're doing easier, which will allow them to give you more points if they do partial credit, and it will also allow them to help you, because if you make a mistake, it'll be very easy for them to pinpoint what that mistake was, and they can help teach you not only what it is you did wrong, but how to do it correctly in the future. So we'll do one more example. We'll add in some parentheses and some exponents. Alright, and in this example, we have some subtraction, some multiplication, division, and exponent. We have parentheses. And something that you may not be familiar with is we have a number sitting next to a set of parentheses, and there's no sign between the parentheses and the number. So some of us may be asking, well, what do I do with the 5? Whenever you see a number next to parentheses like that, it means multiply. So in this case, I have some multiplication over here, but I also have some over here as well. Keep in mind, though, the first step is parentheses. So that means I need to do all the math inside these parentheses that I can first. So inside the parentheses, you still have to follow the order of operations. So we're going to go rate the exponents, because that's the next step in the order of operations, and the exponent is inside my parentheses. So the first thing in here I'm going to do is 6 to the second power, or 6 squared. So we'll box off the 6 squared, write my answer underneath, which in this case happens to be 36, because 6 squared is the same thing as saying 6 times 6. And everything outside that box drops right down around it. Next step I'm going to have to take, I got to finish doing all that math that's inside those parentheses. So I'm going to do 36 divided by 9. 36 divided by 9 gets me an answer of 4. And I'm going to keep the parentheses around that 4. We are done with the math inside the parentheses, and sometimes people like to take away the parentheses. I always keep them there because there are numerous situations where it becomes useful. For example, if you get a negative answer, it helps keep the negative sign separate from the pluses and the multiplying and the subtraction signs and things like that. But also in cases like this where we have a number outside the parentheses, you wouldn't know if I took the parentheses away that this was 5 times 4. It might look like a 54. So always keep the parentheses around the answer you get when you're finished with the math, just in case. Everything else around that box drops right down. So now I got to take a look at my problem. My parentheses are done. There are no more exponents. So now the question is there any multiplication or division? Well, as you can see, there's some multiplication here, 5 times 4. And there's some multiplication here, 4 times 2. According to the order of operations, I need to go from left to right. So I'm going to do 5 times 4 first. I'm going to get an answer of 20. Everything else will drop down. And it's really important, especially as a student, it's really important that you don't try to skip steps. Skipping steps and trying to do 2 or 3 steps at once is the most common way for students to make mistakes and lose points. So do not, I know it's tempting because we like to get done with things quick, but don't rush. The most important thing in math is being accurate. Taking your time, doing things accurately is more important than trying to get them done quickly. So as you can see here what I did, when I did it, and what I got for those answers. My first step, 6 squared, got me an answer of 36. My second step, 36 divided by 9, got me an answer of 4. My third step was 5 times 4, it got me an answer of 20. My next step was 4 times 2, got me an answer of 8. And my last step was 20 minus 8, and it got me an answer of 12. So that is my tutorial or lesson for you on the order of operations. So tune into the next video and enjoy.